Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the series finale of Superman and Lois that just aired last night. And the episode was called It Went By So Fast, which I think is very apropos. As it starts, Superman is battling Doomsday, and John Henry is caught in an explosion while hanging out with Lana. When Superman won't let the boys help him fight Doomsday, they make themselves useful in other ways, including saving a helicopter pilot from falling to his death after Doomsday destroys the helicopter. When it seems like Doomsday is about to really put the screws to Superman, the boys taunt him and lead him away. But Superman calls them back after Lois makes him realize that he needs to allow the boys to help. John Henry, meanwhile, has a plan to help Superman, and when Doomsday arrives back on Main Street where Superman is, he's tricked into flying into John's hammer, which puts him down. With Doomsday knocked out, Superman flies to the sun, where, while he gets stronger, Doomsday gets weaker. Lois makes sure that the boys save Lex's business partner from him almost killing her with a rocket. Upon reaching the sun, Doomsday wakes up, and before Superman punches him into the sun, he surrenders and allows Superman to gently push him until he flies right into the sun and is destroyed. After being saved, Lex's honey agrees to help Lois expose Lex on the air, but of course, Lex's tech shuts down the network. Lex then arrives on Main Street and confronts the boys with his kryptonite-laced suit. Still at the sun, Superman soaks up its energy, but only for a brief second because he hears Jordan being choked. Lois tricks Lex into attacking her, and she puts some kind of device on his suit which seems to disable its kryptonite functions, just before Superman arrives on the scene and picks Lex up to fly him into a storm while punching the crap out of him. Lex does manage to fire some kryptonite-laced weapons into Superman, though. John Henry and the DoD find and confront Lex's tech guru. Superman manages to remove the kryptonite weapons that had been shot into him, and the fight resumes, at which point Superman punches Luthor so hard that the suit breaks into pieces and falls off of him, causing Superman to need to catch Lex before he can fall to the ground and die. Next, we cut to a year later as Clark is walking Lana down the aisle to marry John Henry, with Lois as the officiant. Kyle and Lana share a dance, and Jordan and Sarah have a moment, as do John and Natalie. Clark asks Lois what he thinks they'll be remembered for, and she says truth and justice, before Clark adds, and a better tomorrow. We learn that Lex has been convicted of something and that he's not going to be able to have an appeal because it's been denied. When Lex is taken to prison, he learns that he's not going to be able to have the cushy arrangement he had before, and that Mannheim is not only his neighbor, but that he's the new man in charge, as it were, as well as that he plans to use Luthor as a chair, as Luthor used to do to someone else. We then learn that Superman lived another 32 years after this point, from a narration by Clark, and that during that time he worked with both his sons and Nat and John Henry, as well as Mannheim, to help to try to fix some of the world's problems. We see that the boys grew up and had families. We learned that Lois's cancer came back and that she succumbed to it. Not being able to live alone, Clark eventually got a dog and named it Crypto, of course. And after living with the dog for years, he eventually died a second time, whereupon he realized that life is about joy, hope, forgiveness, wonder, friendship, family, and love, just before he's reunited with Lois. And that's where the episode and the season and the series ended. So I did like the episode. I'm glad that they wrapped it up relatively quickly in terms of the Luthor, the Lex plot, and that we got to see, a bit of a wind down and a bit of what came next for the characters. There was a really cool scene where Superman is flying alongside his two sons and Nat and John Henry, and they're all in their outfits, which is super cool. And I think the way they resolved it made sense, although it was a little, pat, like, well, I guess not really. I was going to say it was a little pat that John Henry came up with the kryptonite thing, like out of nowhere, but that was really the first time they were confronting Lex with that suit. So his first idea came right away and it worked. And I guess that's cool, actually. It does make sense. So that's fine. But like, why did they not think of throwing the hammer at Doomsday before? Like, if that was enough to knock him out? I don't know. Anyway, they got rid of Doomsday. They got rid of Lex and they wrapped that up. And then they did have some time to wind the series down. And I thought that was great. I think they did an excellent job executing the choices that they made. They made this choice to have Superman die and to explained that it was after another 30 years during which he did XYZ. And, they chose in that to put a big bow on it where he, reflects on his life and is happy with it. And, you know, if that's the choice you're going to make, then you make that choice and you execute it as best you can. And they did a great job executing that particular choice. So I can't take that away from them, but I didn't like that choice, like at all. Or for that matter, the choice of killing Lois, like, and leaving Clark alone. Like, why? Why? Why did they do that? Why did they have to hurt Superman like that? Oh, I lived another 32 years with this human heart, which was not long. I got to be in about 60 something with a heart that obviously was about 90 years old, which makes sense. But like, why? Why did they have to do any of that? Why did they have to kill Lois and leave Clark alone for, I don't know, 20 years or whatever it was? It's pointless. No reason to do it except to make the ending freaking sad. I mean, okay, he's reunited with her in death, but after how many years alone, or just him and the dog? Terrible, pointless, no reason to do it. Wasn't happy with that. And then on top of that, they kill Superman at a relatively young age, 60 years old, instead of allowing him to grow old and die because he had this old person's heart, which they could have written in a way to remedy. Why didn't they write in a solution to the fact that he had this old, man's human heart? They could have written anything they wanted to, any kind of techno babble mumbo jumbo to fix it and give him back his heart, give him back his full power, and let him live another 50 years. So I don't understand why they made these choices, and I absolutely hated those choices. I'm not happy with the way they ended the show. Again, having made those choices, they executed them excellently. I can't say that there's any better way they could have executed those choices. I don't agree with them having made those choices. I don't know why they just couldn't have left it wide open where the fight continues, where Superman just went on being Superman. Show the kids growing up, show the kids having kids, show him getting older, but still being Superman, and leave it where the fight for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow continues on a happy ending, an open-ended ending. But they killed him. Why? Didn't like that at all. Did not like that at all. What's unfortunate in the overall is that they even had to end the series after only 4 seasons. This was a really good show from the beginning, even though in the beginning I didn't, for some reason, see how great the elements that I ended up loving in the last 2 seasons, or maybe even the second, third, and fourth season had become. And that's something that the other Arrowverse shows can't say. Even into the fourth season, a lot of those shows had already started to tank if they were good to begin with. And so this series deserves a lot of credit for being really good throughout. And I think this season was like a high point of the 4 seasons, just so strong, I thought. And it's just insane to me that it's over when it just could have continued. One other thing I will give them credit for too is how they still managed to use the supporting cast. When they announced this fourth shorter season, they said, "Oh, the supporting cast is going to shrink, and you're only going to see the core 4 characters." I was like, "Really? We're not going to have Lana?" I mean, okay, I could see getting rid of the old man, Sam Lane. And I could do without John Henry and Natalie. It's fine. But you're going to take Lana and Sarah out? That's awful. I could do without Kyle and Chrissy. Okay. But we're going to not have Lana? That was really going to bother me. And what they did very well is they worked the characters in small bites, in smaller bites than they had had in the previous seasons, to the point where it was just enough that you didn't miss them, that they were there in a way that was satisfying and seemed regular enough, but apparently in a way that saved them enough money that they did these 10 episodes rather than not doing them. And so I thought they deserve credit for that. And I was happy for it because I really liked Lana and Sarah. And, you know, the other characters that I mentioned were good too. And it was great that they all could be in it. And it didn't feel like it was in a reduced way because they spread it out and put them in, you know, peppered them in just enough where you didn't miss them. So they did a good job there. But I don't like how they wrapped it up. I don't like the choices they made. And I'm disappointed there. But, you know, that's what it is. It is what it is, and you can't change it. And I'm just glad that we did have it for 4 really good seasons. Tyler Hoechlin, whom I've met, I think is the best Superman since Christopher Reeve. I think he did an excellent job, and I look forward to what he's going to do next. And same for the rest of the cast. They were really, really good. So there you go. That's really all there is to say. Goodbye, Superman and Lois. Goodbye, Arrowverse. And I guess onward. So for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.